Hey there guys, it's Rick Utah here with AirgunWeb and AirgunWeb TV and our continuing series on the Brocock Bantam Sniper High Power. And I know you're saying, Rick, that's not the high power. Yeah, I know. Stay with us. All right, before we get started, I want to say thank you to Daystate and Brocock for their support of this channel, for giving us this gear, helping us really deep dive into these products so that I can bring to you guys how these things perform not one time, but actually over the course of about a year. That's pretty awesome, so I want to say thank you to those guys. Now we can go ahead and get started. All right, so where's the high power, guys? Well, the high power actually is over there. And the reason it's over there is because I'm waiting for some pellets to come in. I didn't see the point of just shooting more long-range stuff with the same old stuff we've had, so I reached out to JSB and they've got some pellets. They should actually probably be in today, but I have a video due today on this stuff. So I figured let's sort of shift gears for a minute and talk about the little guy again here and what I'm going to be using it for. See, the way this works, at least supposed to work, is when I'm done with this, I have to send it back. So as long as I'm not done with it, maybe they'll just let me keep it. That's what my hope is anyway. So what I'm doing is I'm setting this up to do some hunting here around the ranch. Mostly small game, pesting, that kind of thing. Probably some jackrabbits mostly. The reason for that is that we're coming into the season where the coyotes start getting more aggressive, at least around here anyway. So the best way I've found to actually bait them, get them in a place where I can take them pretty easily, they love jackrabbits. So I will go out, clear a couple jackrabbits, use them for bait, and there we go. We got some coyotes that are pretty easy picking. At least that's my hope. That's what we did last year. It worked great. We're going to do that again this year. I want to use this gun and this setup to go clear out some jackrabbits to make that happen. So what I've got here is sort of the gear I would use. So I want to talk a little bit about this guy. Everybody wants to talk about cheap compressors, and if you go cheap, you may not be doing yourself any favors. And the reason I say that is it's cheap for a reason. Quality, quality stuff costs money, and if you're willing to invest probably just a little bit more, you can get a lot more quality. So this guy right here, this is the Omega Trail Charger. Now I happen to be a real fan of the way the Omega chargers work, the air chargers, the turbochargers, superchargers, all that stuff, because it's super simple. You have this piston in there and you just have this reciprocating action and it's just pumping up. It's almost like a mechanical hand pump. They do it slowly, methodically, and reliably, and that just makes the whole system work. Why I like this so much is that it is water cooled, and that's pretty neat. That means, unlike some of the others that don't have any cooling other than air cooling, you really can't fill a bottle. Now, this one is designed mostly to just direct fill your gun, but in a pinch you can fill these small bottles. Wouldn't have any problem with that, just takes a really long time. And personally, I would probably let it cool down every 30 or 45 minutes, let it have a break, and then go back to it. But realistically, it'll top that bottle off in under that time. So it's actually a really good device for that. The other thing I really like about this is it'll run off a battery. Now, normally when I've showed you guys this stuff, I've got it plugged into power, we're running the converter, all of that kind of stuff. But this time I actually want to show you guys how this works right off the battery. So we've got our gun here. We're sitting at 200 bar. This can go to 250 bar. So let's go ahead and fill it, right? So I'll pull the plug here. Now, you do have an end that'll go right to the gun with the right adapter, which is this guy right there, okay? But it's short and I don't want to have to move things around, so I'm going to be using an extension. You actually don't need to use the extension, but I'm going to, just to make it easier for me. All right, so that's all plugged in there. We'll leave that right like that. I'm going to plug this right there. Now, this is how this is going to work. Will it sit? Will not sit like that. Okay. So this is how it's going to work. We're going to flip this on. All right, now we have power. This is running, and it's running right off this battery, which I think is pretty doggone cool. First thing I want to do before we do anything is the water flowing. Yep, it's circulating. You can see it a lot easier if you take this off. Okay, so this device is not oil lubricated, it's grease lubricated. And the instructions say every 4 to 6 hours, give this one rotation, and that puts grease into the system. It's also, if you feel over here, you got air blowing, it's actually got a radiator. So not only is it water cooled, they actually have a radiator system that's cooling that water. So very, very cool here. It's got auto shut off, and I've set this to 250 bar. And let's go ahead and run it. First thing I'm gonna do is open the bleed valve. You don't ever wanna start it on a load. You wanna let it sort of build up. All right, so, okay. Now we're running, that's it. That's as loud as it gets. We'll let it cycle a little bit, and then we're gonna close the bleeder. Okay, now immediately you're gonna start to see that needle move, and you hear it start to work a little bit, and it's just like this, like a little sewing machine, just chug, 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 chug. That's all it does. Right now it's building up that pressure to equalize what we have in the gun here. Okay, just opened the valve in the tank, and now it's putting air in our gun. And that's it, we're done. So now what we want to do is go ahead and bleed this out. And then with the bleeder open, go ahead and start it again and let it cycle a couple minutes. Maybe not a couple minutes, we'll just give it a few seconds here. Just get any residual moisture out of the system. Okay, and then once we're done, you always just check your water. Yep, still circulating, still doing good. You can let it cool off if you want, but we didn't really run it that long, so I'm just going to go ahead and shut it down here. Okay. So that's it. You can imagine if you're filling the bottle, it's going to take a little bit longer. So you want to watch your time. Make sure you maybe calculate, write down how long you use it so that you always put grease in it at the appropriate time. You don't want to over grease it. Certainly don't want to under grease it. But that's pretty much it. You can see that's super simple. Now, we've got our gun, we've got our bottle, we've got our compressor. Now we got to figure out what pellet we're going to use to do some hunting. Be right back. All right, so here's what's going on. I'm going to take a look at what are probably the most lethal pellets on the market today. We got the Predator Polymags and also the H&N Hornets. Now, they're really only lethal if you can hit your target, which is what we're going to do right now. So here's the deal. Out here at the ranch, jackrabbits are plenteous. They're pretty much everywhere, ranging between, 35 to 75 yards. Now, I know my rifle is sighted for 75 yards with the JSBs at 25 grains. So where am I hitting? About 50 yards, which is pretty much the average? I don't know. We're going to find out. Now, first thing we want to do is make sure that however we are going to be out hunting is exactly how we are shooting here when we're testing our rifle. Now, if you guys are hunters, you already know this. If you're sighting it at the bench and then you're going to shoot off shooting sticks when you get to the field, you're not doing yourself any favors. If you're going to hunt with that rifle, you need to practice like you're going to hunt. And that is, for me, I use a set of shooting sticks here. So I've got a target, it's right at 53 yards, it's pretty good range, and we're gonna be shooting a steel silhouette that's got one of these on it, so I have a good solid aim point. We're gonna kind of see if I clip it in the head or if I hit it dead center of the bull. So we're gonna be able to see that. And I'm gonna grab my rifle, I'm gonna put 5 of each of these in the mag, so we have 10 shots, 5 of each, we'll see how we do. Okay, real quick, I'm gonna verify my range to target. Yeah, I'm 53 yards. Something like this, absolutely essential in your gear bag. This is the Hawk rangefinder. I don't ever go hunting without this. It really, really helps because as good as I think I am guessing yardage, this tells me for sure. So I'm 53 yards. The Hornets are doing about 900 feet per second. The Polymags are doing about 870. So I think I know where I got to aim. Let's see if I'm right. Here we go. Now we're going to start with the Polymags. Put 5 rounds down range, and then I've got another 5 already in the magazine of the Hornets. All right, there's 5 shots. Clip the first one. Now we're switching over to the Hornets here. Now I'm going to have to aim a little lower, I think. There it is. Oh, the trigger got me. I've adjusted this trigger so too light for field work. A little more weight back on it. Okay. All right, before we end this video, let's talk a little bit about what I learned. Hopefully you guys learned something too, besides the fact that I need more practice. This thing is awesome. This compressor, 12 volt or 110 if you want to run it in the house, but this thing is just cool. You take this with you, throw it in your car, you have either a battery with you or hook it up to your car battery and you can fill your air gun. You're self-sufficient. That is just awesome. The fact that these have, really become this available and this reliable, that just makes the whole sport of air gunning that much more accessible to a lot more folks. So I'm super excited about these new compressors. Now, on the gun side of it, obviously I need more practice. That's just the way that goes. Both pellets, as I've shot these before just casually, I know they both actually group about the same. My performance with these today basically shows that I'm not doing what I should be doing as far as my part of things. Now, once I do get some more time on the sticks, and probably adjust this trigger because it's a little too light for me for field work. It's great for the bench, but as I shanked those shots shooting the Hornets, I just did not feel that first, second stage distinction very well, and I just screwed up. So I can put that back into the trigger, add a little more poundage back to it, and I think I'll have a little bit more of a deliberate pull, and I'll be better off those sticks in the field. Whether I use the H&N Hornets or I use the JSB Polymags, I really don't think it matters. Maybe if I'm shooting long range, I need to do some testing there, but at 50 yards, knowing what I know about the gun and how those perform, either one's going to do great. So guys, this is really important. We'll go ahead and end with this. Before you take your air gun out and do any hunting, if you're going to take game, make sure that you know what your gun's going to do and how you're going to perform with it in those conditions. If you're going to hunt off shooting sticks, then practice with shooting sticks. If you're going to hunt in a stand, then whatever you're going to use in the stand, that's what you need to practice with. Because then when you go out into the real environment and actually go to take game, you can do so accurately and ethically, and that's super important. For now, guys, my name is Rick Utzer here with AirgunWeb, AirgunWeb TV. Thanks for watching.